Let's start with something you're not ready to hear, but that you've already felt silently. You don't know exactly when it began, but you feel it every time you finish. That exact moment after climax, when everything inside you shuts down. It's not just tiredness, it's not just sleepiness, it's something else, something darker, deeper, an abyss opening beneath your feet, dragging you down without you noticing. It makes you distant, irritable, empty, and then, without knowing why, you hate yourself a little. Most men have no idea what that is. They laugh it off, joke about it, disguise it as humor, or hide it under layers of silence. But there's something no one has told you. What you're feeling is not a coincidence. It's not weakness. It's not a fault of yours. It's a cycle, an energy collapse, an inevitable descent. And the most chilling part is this. It's exactly what women go through every month. Only you didn't even know you had it. Imagine for a moment that everything you've learned about your sexuality is a lie. That the release you think you get with every orgasm is actually a loss, a leakage, an invisible drain of your vital energy, a silent saboteur living inside you to whom you have handed the keys. Do you know what the ancients called it? Spiritual bankruptcy, emptiness. And now comes the painful part. No one told you because no one wants you to know. Neither your parents, nor your teachers, nor your friends, and much less this culture that teaches you to empty yourself every time you can, as if your energy were infinite, as if there were no consequences. But there are. You have felt them. After every orgasm, something inside you dies, and you accept it, because no one has shown you another way to experience it, because no one has explained to you that you also have a cycle, and that, just like a woman's, if you ignore it, if you sabotage it, it destroys you from within. Carl Jung saw it before anyone else. He named it, he understood it, he feared it, and yet the world decided to ignore it. Why? Because if men discovered the true power that dwells in their sexual energy, they would stop being manipulable, they would stop being weak, they would stop crawling through the world like functional zombies. But you, who are here listening to this, have already begun to awaken. You know it. Even if you can't name it yet, even if you don't know why you feel so damn disconnected from yourself. Let me tell you something that will blow your mind. The male orgasm is the functional equivalent of the female menstrual cycle. Only yours isn't monthly. It's every time you ejaculate. And every time you do, you drag yourself through a roller coaster of physical, emotional, and psychic imbalance. And the worst part is that you think this is normal. You think that sudden irritability is just stress. That emotional withdrawal means you need space. That emptiness means that's just life, number. It's not. You're paying a price for something no one taught you to value. Your sexual energy is not just biology. It's psychology. It's spirituality. It's creative fire. It's identity. It's power. And you're flushing it down the drain. Day after day, week after week, like an addict, without knowing it. And do you know what's most disturbing? Most men you know are already dead inside. They keep smiling, working, having sex, going to the gym, but they are empty, dry, shut down, and not for what you think. Not for lack of motivation, not for childhood trauma, not for depression, for a much simpler and more brutal reason. They're in energetic bankruptcy. And the reason is right there, in what no one wants you to look at, in what you do without questioning. In that pleasure they sell you as a reward, but that drags you like a punishment. This is not about morality. It's not about religion. It's not about repression. This is about power, about presence, about awareness, about who you are when you're not controlled by your impulses, about which version of you emerges when you decide to keep what the world wants you to waste. This video is not for everyone. It's for those who have already felt that there's something broken inside them and haven't been able to explain it yet. For those who finish and feel they have lost more than semen. For those who know there's an inner voice telling them, this is not all. Get ready. Because what you're about to hear isn't taught in schools, nor universities, nor traditional psychological offices. This is ancient knowledge, forgotten, silenced, but still there, beneath the surface, waiting to be remembered. Today we're going to talk about an invisible enemy, about a hidden cycle, about a truth that, once seen, you can never unsee. Today, you're going to discover why the male orgasm is, psychologically and energetically, the equivalent of the female menstruation, and why continuing to ignore it might be destroying your life from within. And here is where the most disturbing part begins. Because what you have felt is not just an isolated energetic crash. It's not just a physical low after sex. It's the symptom of something much bigger. You are being disconnected from yourself by an invisible design, a psychological architecture you don't see, but that shapes everything you think you are. It's no coincidence that every time you ejaculate, you feel the need to withdraw, shut yourself in, distract yourself, or even disappear a little. Have you noticed? Suddenly, everything that seemed emotionally important before orgasm no longer is. What you felt as genuine desire for a person, for an experience, for a connection, becomes indifference. You tell yourself it's normal, that it's biology, that desire rises and falls. But no, it's emotional amnesia induced by energetic collapse. It's the disconnection from your emotional center. And that disconnection, if repeated over and over, ends up creating an internal fracture that becomes part of your identity. Carl Jung called it the shadow, that part of you that you hide, repress, fragment, and that ends up ruling your life from the unconscious. What few understand is that every time you fall into that cyclical imbalance caused by orgasm, you are feeding your shadow. You're strengthening it. And the most twisted thing is that you believe you are being yourself, when in reality, you're the result of your own energy leak. You're not seeking pleasure, you're seeking oblivion. You're not craving connection, you're craving distraction. And the emptier you get, the further you are from yourself. Jung understood something chilling. Sexual energy is not simply a drive. It is the soul itself moving through the body. Every uncontrolled ejaculation is not just a physiological discharge, it is a psychic loss. It's a part of you that leaves and never returns. And if you don't know how to integrate it, if you don't know how to transmute it, you get trapped in an eternal return of emptiness. And that emptiness, sooner or later, turns into anxiety, into dissatisfaction, into a compulsive search for stimulus after stimulus. Have you wondered why so many men are incapable of staying in a relationship, committing, feeling truly fulfilled, even when they have everything? Do you know why? Because their emotional system is collapsing from the constant discharge of their vital energy. And that creates a mental state no one wants to face head-on: chronic emotional detachment. A kind of numbness that disguises itself as freedom, but is actually disconnection. And the most disturbing thing is that we confuse it with maturity. We justify it with phrases like, men are like that, we need space, love ends. Lies. What ends is the energy that feeds your capacity to feel. Because emotion, empathy, intuition, all those deep human dimensions rest on an internal energetic flow that you have learned to sacrifice for a second of pleasure. And here comes a brutal truth. Constant ejaculation not only weakens you, it also infantilizes you. Why do you think so many adult men behave like emotional teenagers? Because they haven't learned to contain, to hold, to mature their sexual energy. And without that maturation, without that inner alchemy, there is no psychological evolution. Only repetitions, only cycles, only the same emotional script over and over again, with different faces, different beds, different excuses. And here is something almost no one dares to say out loud. Addiction to frequent ejaculation is the modern form of male self-anesthesia. It's the new silent drug. It's not sold in bottles, it has no prescription, but its effects are devastating. It takes away your initiative. It steals your courage. It makes you passive, fearful, dependent. And the worst is that you call it sexual freedom. But it's not freedom. It's disguised slavery. It's a system perfectly designed to keep you weak, predictable, and easily manipulated. Have you noticed that every great spiritual culture of the past warned about this? From Tantra in the East to the occult disciplines of ancient West, they all spoke of the same thing. Male power lies in the capacity to retain, not in the compulsion to release. And they weren't referring only to semen, but to everything it represents. Strength, will, inner fire, magnetism, clarity. The man who contains his sexual energy becomes magnetic, unbreakable, intense, present. It's not an esoteric cliché. It's deep psychology. It's neurochemistry. It's biology integrated with consciousness. Containment transforms anxiety into focus, frustration into creative drive, dispersion into purpose. It's a shift in axis, from living reacting to living choosing. And here's where everything becomes clearer, but also more painful, because you realize the system doesn't want men conscious of their energy. It doesn't need them. It doesn't tolerate them. It needs empty men, ejaculating daily, lost in porn, Tinder, external validation, in the mechanical repetition of an impulse that never stops to ask, what am I losing with this? And if you dare answer honestly, the vertigo is immediate, because what you're losing is not pleasure, it's identity. What you're leaving behind is not just a part of you, it's your capacity to create, to love, to be a complete man. And do you know what's the most paradoxical thing of all this? While you empty yourself in silence, women live their cycle naturally, monthly, integrated with their biology, with their emotion, with their intuition. When they bleed, they don't lose their essence. They renew it. Their system resets. Yours, on the other hand, wears down. Every ejaculation without awareness is a reset downward, a setback, an expenditure that is never recovered without containment. And what's the result? A broken polarity, an imbalance of energies, relationships where she feels more than he does, where she intuits and he rationalizes, where she is present and he is absent, because he, without knowing it, has already gone. And when a man has left himself, nothing can bring him back, except his radical decision to recover what he has lost. Not with abstinence, not with repression, but with awareness, with alchemy, with deep respect for what Jung called the sacred masculine principle, that which has nothing to do with machismo, brute force, or arrogance, and everything to do with presence, direction, integrity. Here is where the real journey begins, not outward, not toward conquering the world, but inward, toward recovering your lost energy, toward rebuilding your fragmented psyche. And that path, though lonely and often misunderstood, is the only one that returns your real power. Because the man who has learned to contain his energy needs to prove nothing. He does not seek, does not chase, does not beg. His mere presence is enough. because he has become master of himself. And yet, here is where things get truly interesting. Because what you're experiencing is not just an individual problem. It's not only your energetic bankruptcy, your emotional crash, your silent power leak. It's something much bigger. It's a collective phenomenon, a silent epidemic affecting entire generations of men, and has been normalized with surgical precision. Because if you are disconnected, if you are fragmented, if you are empty, then everything you build will be too. Your relationship will be an extension of that emptiness. Your work, a functional version of your dissatisfaction. Your role as a father, an emotional shadow that inherits what you never learned to integrate. And here is where a truth no one wants to face comes in. If you're losing your energy every day, you're also losing your capacity to lead, to guide, to hold. And I'm not talking about leading others from ego, but leading yourself from awareness. A man who cannot contain his sexual impulse, how will he contain the uncertainty of life? How will he contain the chaos of a family, a business, a crisis? Constant ejaculation not only weakens you physically, but trains your mind to avoid tension, to escape discomfort, to seek quick gratification. And that same mental structure follows you outside the bedroom. It makes you abandon projects. It makes you avoid difficult conversations. It makes you run every time fear appears. And the worst is that you learn to justify it all as part of your character. You tell yourself, I'm just like this. I don't connect. I just lost interest. No, you didn't lose it. You gave it away. You gifted it in every drop of energy you didn't know how to honor. And the most terrifying thing is, you don't even do it because you want to. You do it because you're conditioned, because you were programmed. And here comes a topic many don't want to touch, but that is essential: the psychological engineering of orgasm addiction. Because yes, there is programming, a design, a mold that since you were little has taught you to discharge before containing, to consume before creating, to react before leading. Think about it. From adolescence, your relationship with sexual energy has been marked by two pillars: urgency and loneliness. Urgency because no one taught you to observe your desire, only to act on it. And loneliness because the first contact with your sexuality was with yourself, in secret, with guilt, in silence. And that marked everything, because you didn't learn to share your energy. You learned to get rid of it. You learned to empty yourself for relief, not to expand yourself for power. And that imprint, that first emotional energetic habit, became your pattern. It became your way of loving, connecting, touching, relating, always from discharge, never from presence. And that's why today, even in a relationship, even loving truly, even desiring with your soul, something inside you keeps running away because you don't know how to hold what you feel, because you were never trained to contain, only to release. And this is the saddest part. Most men don't ejaculate for pleasure. They do it out of emotional need, to anesthetize, to not feel, to escape themselves. They do it like someone lights a cigarette after an argument, like someone drinks alcohol after frustration, like someone looks at their phone every time they are silent. It's not desire, it's emptiness. And the more you do it, the less you recognize yourself in the mirror. Because every unconscious orgasm leaves not only your body exhausted, it leaves your identity more diluted. And here comes something no one has told you. Sexual containment is not just a spiritual technique or an energetic discipline. It's a psychological ritual. It's a practice of reintegration. Every time you contain yourself, you remember yourself. Every time you choose not to empty yourself automatically, you're telling yourself, I am here. It's a way to break years of conditioning. It's pure rebellion. It's an invisible act of power. And it's uncomfortable, of course, because your body screams, because your mind resists, because the whole system wants you to go back to discharge. But there lies the key. In that moment of tension, when everything in you wants to repeat the pattern, if you stay, if you endure, if you breathe, something changes. Something in you rises, opens, ignites. They call it sublimation. Jung called it the transformation of sexual energy into creative drive, vision, consciousness. And here's something fascinating. When you start conserving your energy, your gaze changes, your voice changes, your posture, your skin, your presence. Everything transforms. People don't know what it is, but they feel it. They say you have something, that you emanate strength, that you inspire respect, that there's a clarity in you that can't be faked. And it's not magic. It's because you stopped losing yourself, because you reunited with yourself. And there's more. Because when you reach that point, you start noticing something that didn't exist before. Desire stops controlling you. It's no longer a tyrant. It no longer drags you. It becomes a powerful current. But you have the helm. And when that happens, when desire stops being compulsion and becomes directed will, you become dangerous to this system. Because you're no longer a reactive man. You're a creative man. And a creative man is not manipulable. He doesn't need distractions. He doesn't fall for mediocre narratives. He doesn't seek external validation. He moves with purpose, speaks with truth, dwells in the world from integrity. And that, my friend, scares. And the most incredible thing is this. When you learn to live from that contained energy, you discover that true sexuality doesn't start in the body. It starts in the psyche, in the imagination, in the symbol, in the intention. The body only executes what the mind sustains. And if your mind is fragmented, your body can only repeat empty patterns. But if your mind is unified, then your sexual energy becomes something beyond pleasure. It becomes a channel, a tool, a portal to a version of yourself you never imagined. And that is priceless, because it's the beginning of your liberation. And the only way to get there is this. Stop emptying yourself, not out of fear, not out of punishment, not out of guilt, but out of respect, out of reverence, out of decision. Because you know your worth, because you've understood that your energy is not a burden you need to release, but a treasure you need to guard. Because when you conserve your energy, you conserve your essence. And when you conserve your essence, the world transforms before you. Not because the world changes, but because you change. Because finally, for the first time in a long time, you are whole again. And if you've come this far, then you already know. There's no turning back. You felt inside you that spark, that pulse that had been asleep for years. It's not an idea. It's not a theory. It's something much older, more real. It's the remembrance of your true nature, the one that was buried under habits, screens, distractions, and excuses. The energy you lost without realizing it, and that now begins to return. But beware, because right now, when the fire starts to ignite inside you, you will be tested. The world will not stand idly by watching you wake up. They will tempt you. They will provoke you. You will see old habits disguised as opportunities. The algorithm will show you exactly what you need to fall again. And that your thoughts will scream at you that you're exaggerating, that this isn't such a big deal, that you can control it. But you are no longer the same. You've seen what was behind the veil. You've understood what's at stake. Because now you know, every time you choose to conserve your energy, you're forging an internal armor. Invisible, yes, but indestructible. Every day you hold the impulse, you're not repressing, you're refining. You're carving your mind. You're training your will. You're transforming your desire into power, into focus, into direction. Because the real revolution isn't shouting louder, it's holding the silence when everyone else is losing their minds. It's walking firmly when everyone else runs. It's looking inside when the whole world tells you to look outside. And now that we've made it this far, before we continue, I want to present the following to you. Our book, The Formula of Awakening, is now available. Do you feel like there's something inside you that wants to awaken, but you don't know where to start? Then I invite you to transform your way of thinking, and with it, your way of living. Discover who you can become. Start today. The link to get the ebook is in the first pinned comment of this video. Grab your copy now at a great price. With that said, let's continue with the video. And I tell you clearly, like a whisper that travels through time, this is not the easy path, but it's the only one that takes you back home. Because at the end of everything, you're not looking for more sex, more validation, more stimuli. You're looking to feel whole again. You're looking to be yourself again. And that can't be bought. It can't be downloaded. It can't be improvised. It's built. Day by day, decision by decision. With every impulse you choose to transmute. With every moment you choose not to give in. Because every time you don't empty yourself, you fill yourself with you. And that is the greatest act of self-love you can do, and the most dangerous, because a man full of himself doesn't need the world. And when you don't need the world starts following you. Not because you seek it, but because you've become a magnet. Because your energy no longer escapes, it condenses, it accumulates, it becomes presence. And presence, my friend, is the most forgotten quality of the modern man. Now, if you're feeling something in your chest, if there's a mix of clarity and vertigo, if your hands have trembled at any moment during this video, it means your soul has recognized it. Don't understand it only with your head. Feel it, record it, write it down, and don't forget it. Because life will try to make you forget. But you have already awakened. And those who awaken, even if they fall, never fully sleep again. So now I invite you to take one more step. Subscribe to this channel if you feel this message has touched something no one else has said. Because we're not here to entertain, we're here to remember. And if you've felt that connection, I want to read you. I want you to comment below one phrase, just one. My energy is not for sale. That will be the password, the silent symbol that you're not alone, that there are others like you, awakening, containing themselves, rebuilding in the shadow. And now, this is the end, but not of this video. The end of a version of you that no longer has a place in your story. From now on, you decide what you do with all this. You can close it and stay the same, or you can let this fire spread. The choice is yours. And as Jung would say, with that almost terrifying lucidity, what you do not make conscious manifests in your life as destiny. So make it conscious. Do it now. And may your destiny not be to repeat yourself, but to rewrite yourself. See you next time if you return the same. Although something tells me you are no longer the same.